we're Jim, we're Jimmy, we're James.
Jimmy.
Uh, so the news, you tell us. You tell us what you are comfortable sharing. You put this out on Twitter. And for those who are listening on Sirius XM Channel 85, you can't see it. Tweet from Jim Trotter. This will be my final week with the NFL Media Group. I was informed over the weekend that my contract is not being renewed. I thank NFL Network and NFL.com for the lessons learned and affirmed over the last 5 years. Jim Trotter, take it from here.
Yeah, no, they made a decision that they didn't want to renew my contract. I will have a lot to say about it at the appropriate time, which is not now. But the thing that I will say now is that journalism matters, and holding people who are in power accountable matters. And that's part of our job, regardless of if it's our own employer or someone else. And which is really all I tried to do here, Michael, is one of the things the NFL always said internally is hold us accountable as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so for the last couple of years, that's what I've been trying to do, pointing out that in our newsroom, where we cover a player population that is roughly 60 to 70% Black, according to league data, there is no Black person in senior management in our newsroom who has a seat at the table when we are deciding how we are going to cover these players and who is going to cover them. Secondarily, we do not have a full-time Black person on the news desk at NFL Media. And I keep saying we, because officially I'm not terminated until Friday. But to me, those are issues because, one, I think it's unfair to the players. They should have someone who shares either the same or similar life experiences and cultural experiences at the table when we talk about how we are going to cover them. And the fact that we don't, to me, it's an issue. So I have raised that repeatedly over the last 2 years, including at the last 2 Super Bowls with the commissioner. And there are some who didn't like it. And I do believe it played a role in my contract not being renewed. And I will talk about that more later. But so be it, I'm not going to change. And I'm always going to fight for representation, and I'm always going to fight for the truth.
How many people have you tweeted? You couldn't get to all the replies. Roughly how many people have you heard from? And double barrel on this. Any one of the people that or anybody reach out to you that surprised you?
A lot of people. I've not counted. I've not looked at numbers. In fact, yesterday I didn't spend a lot of time on social media until later in the day. I was actually out in the yard pulling weeds for most of the day since I have extra time on my hands. So I didn't look at the number until later in the evening when I looked at some things and I saw, and this is what's kind of disturbing. Look, we know, I always say this, when you know who your opponent is, it's easy to game plan, right? And to some degree, that's what's happening here. So I knew the NFL in some way was going to try and mislead or misinform or deflect as it relates to this. And so on background, they are sending out information to reporters about all of the diversity hires that they have made over the last year or in 2022. And here's the thing, and you know this, Michael, that's a real sneaky way of hiding from what I am particularly focused on, and that is Black people. I'm not asking you about diversity numbers. I am asking you specifically about the numbers of Black employees in our newsroom. And you cannot argue those. And if they so choose, I have the receipts to show that I have talked to them about this and what they have said and acknowledge that my numbers are accurate. So from that standpoint, what was particularly interesting to me in the background information they sent out to one reporter was they made a point of saying Jim's immediate supervisor is a person of color. Person of color in this case does not mean Black, which is what I am focused on. My immediate supervisor is not Black, nor is anyone in senior management in the newsroom Black, nor is any full-time employee on the news desk Black. So I say to people, don't get fooled by the banana in the tailpipe. Stay focused on what I am focused on, and that is the NFL's treatment of Black employees.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's almost, and you don't have to address this part, but it almost seems like there's more work to kind of work around what you're talking about, to work it around, than it is to just say, all right, you bring up an excellent point. This is something that we need to work on. And how do you suggest? And listen, we'll be right there with you. You can work alongside us. We will keep you in the loop. You will be in on interviews, give us names, give us situations that can help us. We're going to do this and do that. It would be easier to do that than to go through like this whole sideways off-roading thing that they're doing just to make a point that I'm not really sure that they're making successfully. I got to tell you this. I was talking to, I mentioned this name earlier on the show, before on the show. His name is Howard Thurman. Great man. If you've never heard of Howard Thurman, look him up. But I was talking to somebody about Howard Thurman, and Thurman really was about love, and he said love and courage. He said a lot of situations just take your courage. It takes your courage to get through it. And I could see what you were doing, and it's courageous. You may not look at it that way. I think what you have done, what you are doing, is courageous, and it really speaks to what you value. You don't value the same things that they do. You don't value some of the same things that people from the outside looking in do. Because I made the mistake, Jim. I shouldn't do this. I'm always here for the comments, and I read through the comments. Okay. All right. It's one of my
That's
vices.
always dangerous, man.
It's always dangerous. So I read through the comments. So some of the commenters, it's always the job. See, that's how we get into trouble. It's like, the job is everything. The job is holy to them. It's holy to them. So in other words, do anything to me, say anything to me, say anything about me, distort the facts. Hey, well, as long as I got the job, because the job is all I need. That's what they value. If you put that in a comment, and it wasn't just one, it was several commenters really said, well, that's what happens. Well, you got to do this with the job. And you don't look at it that way. And I could see for the past year or year and a half that you had a pretty good idea how things could go if you continued to be yourself, and yet you continue to be yourself. So I applaud you for that.
And I say, Michael, I appreciate that, by the way. The two things that disappoint me most in this whole process, if I can be 100% honest, is number one, all I was simply trying to do was make the company better. So when you say diversity, equity, and inclusion are core principles in the NFL and it's good business, all I am trying to do then is help this company be better by saying, then let's be diversified, and Black people are part of that, and therefore make them feel valued as well. The second thing I will say to you, and this is what disappoints me most since I have put this out, I got a call yesterday from a member of the Black Engagement Network, which is a community within the NFL of Black employees, right? And this person said to me that they had been talking about this since I put it out that I was not being renewed, and said everyone is demoralized, and said they feel like if this can happen to you, then they know it can happen to them, which means that they can't speak up on this issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion when the league says, hold us accountable. And look, that's a tried and true tactic of major corporations to intimidate employees. And that's what I feel bad about here, is that there are some brilliant people within the NFL media group. There are brilliant Black people within the NFL media group, and they deserve an opportunity to be able to climb the ladder and to be in these management positions and whatnot. And yet now some of them feel that if they speak out on this, that they will face retribution. And that's unfortunate. And I would say this to the NFL: if you really feel comfortable about what you've done in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, put out your numbers for each demographic group on retention and promotion, and let's compare those numbers. And then we'll see how you really feel about Black people. Because I don't need to see hashtags in the end zone of end racism And I don't need to see Black Lives Matter on the back of helmets. If you really want to show me how you feel about Black people, let's take a look at your retention and promotion rates of Black people within the company, and then we can have a conversation.
So the commissioner who said Black Lives Matter from his basement in a video is overseeing an NFL media that has no Black Lives Mattering when it comes to news decision making. That's just interesting to me. That's very interesting.
But he doesn't manage the newsroom, right?
But it's all
that was
under
his
the
comment,
umbrella.
right?
You're right.
As I told you, this is what I wanted to follow up with him on when he said that. Technically, he's right. He does not manage the newsroom. But here's what we know. The league office sets the budget for the newsroom. The league office sets the head count for the newsroom. The senior manager in the newsroom reports to the league office and must report his diversity numbers. So if we have all of that and you say you don't manage the newsroom and you don't know, is that because you don't want to know? Is that because you don't care? I'm just asking, because as I said to you at the Super Bowl, over the last year and a half, no one from the league office has reached out to me when I have brought these issues up.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. Look, Jim, we know this. It's not just the NFL, but it is the NFL and other corporations. A lot of them know what to say. They know what to say. They know how it sounds. Hey, we are committed to diversity, equity, inclusion. We want it to be equitable. We will do this. We'll do that. We want people to be seen. Like all the little buzzwords and buzz phrases.
We'll play the Black National Anthem.
Yeah, whatever it is. They'll say what sounds good. They will do what looks good. But ultimately, it comes down to what have you done? Where's your production? It's a business of production. What have you done? How are you better now since the reckoning? Remember, we all talked about the reckoning. We didn't talk about it. Black folks didn't talk about it. Let's be honest. Black folks didn't talk about it. There was this reckoning. It was supposed to be a reckoning after the murder of George Floyd, right? In 2020. There's just going to be this reckoning. And then that's where Roger Goodell said, oh, now I get it. Now that's right. Our players are right. We support our players. Black Lives Matter. Yes, we will work with you. All these things. So we're coming up on 3 years. 3 years since the murder of George Floyd. Where does the NFL stand with its numbers? Where do other corporations who put out statements and made all the, we're going to have seminars and listening sessions. We're going to bring in this person, bring in this speaker. We have counseling for those who need it. We know it's traumatic. Where do you stand as a corporation 3 years later, honestly? And this is not to shame anybody. It's just like, okay, are you about it or not? Because if you're not about it, it's easier. It's easier to understand you and deal with you. I know who's not about it, but don't say you are. Exactly. And then just keep doing what you did before. And the last thing I'll say, before we talk to the one and only Rita Hubbard in a few minutes. Last thing I'll say is I saw a great James Baldwin documentary last night, James Baldwin Abroad. So it's like 3 short films focused on Baldwin. Baldwin in Istanbul, Baldwin in Paris, Baldwin in London. And one of them, the one in London, it was Baldwin and Dick Gregory, if you can imagine, those two together in conversation. Oh, yeah, it was phenomenal.
To be a fly on the wall.
But I know, but at the very end, because it was primarily Baldwin, at the very end, Dick Gregory said had some comments, and Gregory said, there are some black folks who tell us we shouldn't be protesting, but as a result of their protest, they become the first, black medical director of this hospital or whatever. So, Jim Trotter, I don't know what you're going to do next, but I do know somebody who is deserving, but somebody deserving is going to get promoted somebody deserving is going to get a position based on what you have illuminated the last couple of years. So know that what you have done, this is not work in vain. We're watching you, we support you, and people are going to benefit from what you've said and what you've made happen. So I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, man. That means a lot, truly. Yeah.
Hey guys.
How you doing?
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.